Our current Liberal government is many things, and at the front of that list is liars. They are professional liars and professional gaslighters, which is why they go around and they spread mis and disinformation. I love using their own words against them about the carbon rebates, right? How 8 out of 10 Canadians get more than they get more out of it than they put in, yada yada. And then they also spread mis and disinformation about the capital gains tax. And that's what we're taking a look at today, because Pierre does not like this. He doesn't like the policies. He doesn't like how this is hurting Canadians, and he doesn't like the fact that they are spreading lies. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. We are very close to 110,000 subscribers, and we only can get there if you guys, a community who are not subscribed, take that leap of faith and smash that button. And for all I care, it's tax deductible and it helps fight climate change. So there's a couple good incentives. All right, without further ado, let's get into this heated debate.
Oral questions, questions orales.
Oral questions, questions orales. Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Bloc voted in favor of another tax increase by the Liberals to take money from Quebecers and give it to the centralizing government of this Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister thanked them literally after the vote with a thumbs up. Is that the Liberal Bloc coalition? Less money for Quebec home builders, less money for Quebec entrepreneurs, less for doctors and entrepreneurs, and more for the federal Liberal colossal government. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, our government understands the importance of fairness. We understand that a teacher should not pay higher taxes
Than a millionaire?
Than a multimillionaire. We also understand that our decision will give $3 billion to the province of Quebec, additional money that the province can use to invest in health care. But the Conservatives don't like health care. They don't like investments by the government.
Leader of Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this tax increase supported by the Bloc takes money away from doctors, forcing Quebec doctors to move elsewhere. The regions of Quebec will have fewer doctors during a cost of living crisis. The Bloc has voted to tax farmers more. The Bloc has voted for a tax on home builders. How is it that the Bloc and the Liberals want to tax Quebecers more to give more money to a big centralizing government in Ottawa? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker. Quebecers understand the importance of fairness. They understand that it is very important for a nurse to not pay higher taxes than the ultra-rich. They also understand that we need revenue to invest in health care, in daycares, and the province of Quebec needs that revenue as well. That is why the province has decided to do the same thing we are doing federally.
Bravo. Chef de l'opposition.
9 years ago, the Prime Minister promised that taxing and spending more would make everything fair. Since then, Canada's had the worst growth in the G7, the worst in Canada's history since the Great Depression. Housing costs have doubled, rising faster than any other G7 country. So 76% of youth believe they'll never be able to afford a home. 1 in 10 people are at eating at food banks in Toronto, where there are 256 homeless encampments. Haven't the Liberals learned that taxing away doctors, taxing away home builders, taxing away the entrepreneurs who make paychecks is economic wackoness?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah, by putting us in trillions of dollars of debt. Mr. Speaker.
We all
Nailed it.
certainly learned something yesterday. After 8 weeks of dithering and evasion, we learned which side the Conservatives are on. They had a chance to be very clear and say a teacher or a welder should not pay tax at a higher rate than a multimillionaire. But they just couldn't help themselves. At the end of the day, the Conservatives are always on the side of those at the very top and always against working people. That's what we saw yesterday.
We contribute more to the interest of our debt than we do to healthcare.
The member mentions welders. Welders start businesses. Among the 300,000 small businesses that are targeted by this tax, according to the minister's own published documents. So those welders will pay a 66% tax on their investments, the same welders that build the homes that we're going to need.
Order. I'm having trouble hearing the question. I'm having trouble hearing the answer. So I'm going to ask honourable members to allow the questions and answers to happen.
Hey, at least he didn't mute the mic.
From the top, the honourable leader of the official opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the member mentions welders. Welders incorporate. They start small businesses, welding businesses that build things, welding products that go into apartment complexes in which people live. So when the member taxes the small businesses that help us build the housing, she not only kills jobs for those welders, she actually kills housing when we are in a housing shortage. How could the minister possibly think it's a good idea to tax home building in a housing crisis and farmers in a food crisis?
He's fucking dumb, that's why. She's got some loose screws.
I'm going to ask for the quiet in return. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, for one thing, the Conservative leader should get his facts straight. Of course, what we are talking
That's homophobic.
about is a 2/3 inclusion rate.
Liberals don't give straight facts.
2/3 tax rate. But he never bothers to actually get his numbers straight. What he
Homophobic again.
doesn't bother to do is to actually stand on the side of working people. He has been faking his support for workers, but yesterday workers learned where he really stands, and that is not with them.
That's right. That's for sure.
The Honourable Leader of the official opposition.
Mr. Speaker, taxing farmers during a food crisis, taxing home builders during a housing crisis, taxing away doctors during a healthcare crisis, and taxing small businesses during an economic growth crisis is economic vandalism.
That's
and
right.
Nothing less, Mr. Speaker. That is precisely why this minister has given us the worst growth in the G7, the worst growth for the next 40 years projected for the OECD, and 256 homeless encampments in her hometown. Isn't that the predictable result of her disastrous policies?
This doesn't affect millionaires as much as it affects everyday people.
Mr. Speaker,
One good investment.
average income.
All the money goes to this
Because
wicked
I
witch.
do, it is $58,400. The average person in Ottawa, Carleton, could only dream of earning $250,000 in a given year. But the Conservative leader thinks his average constituent
Are you
should
dumb?
pay tax on their hard-earned salary at a higher rate than someone who is earning more than $250,000 in capital gains alone. Whose side is he really on?
Exactly.
What is she talking about? It's not for... What? You make a good investment and all that money goes to these morons.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The Liberals
You don't need
want
to
tax
make
on
a
capital
big
gains,
salary to have a
but
good
the
investment.
simplistic definition of who the rich are catches Quebecers like small investors and individual entrepreneurs. The Bloc Québécois will propose amendments to correct this. For example, to offer homeowners who are not real estate speculators access to a higher one-time exemption rather than the annual exemption of $250,000. Will the government commit to working with us to avoid raising taxes on the assets of Quebecers who are not ultra-rich? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you for the question. Mr. Speaker, I would like to begin by thanking the Bloc for their vote yesterday for tax fairness. They understand, like Quebecers understand, the importance of solidarity, social solidarity, the importance of fairness. They understand that a teacher should not pay higher taxes than the ultra-rich. It's very unfortunate, but the Conservatives don't understand that.
The ultra-rich create jobs for the teacher.
For a little bit of silence.
Like, this person is so stupid.
It's not complicated. Raising taxes on the ultra-rich? Yes. Raising taxes on the savings of the self-employed who have invested everything in triplex? No. These people have nothing to do with the real estate bubble. They have nothing to do with the difficulties of first-time buyers.
Oh my God. Do I actually agree with something the Bloc is saying? Yeah.
Order, please.
Say it's not so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The honourable member for La Prairie can start the question again. It's not complicated. Raising taxes on the ultra-rich? Yes. Raising taxes on the savings of a self-employed person with no retirement fund who has invested everything in triplex? No. These people have nothing to do with the real estate bubble. They have nothing to do with the difficulties of first-time buyers. So the Liberals have a choice before them. Work intelligently with us or hurt Quebecers who aren't ultra-rich to score political points against the Conservatives. Will they make the right choice? It's Wednesday.
Dude,
the Honourable Deputy
people in the
Prime Minister.
private sector, they don't have pensions.
Speaker.
So they're forced to invest their money
Thank you for the question.
for retirement. And then this shrew right here,
And
sitting in her delusionary bubble,
An
wants to go
important
after
decision.
people's pensions, quite literally.
the House has supported an important measure, a measure for fairness, a measure that will fund investments that are so
You're going to see
important.
so many businesses registered
Important
in the Cayman Islands.
The province of Quebec will receive
Holy shit.
$1 billion thanks to this measure. I think healthcare will really benefit.
If you see a Cayman Island flag
Deputy.
in my background in the future, don't worry about it,
Speaker.
folks. I'm sure it's nothing.
The housing crisis is everywhere. Seniors are sleeping in their cars. People aren't able to afford skyrocketing rents. A recent report tells us why. Affordable housing is disappearing at an alarming rate throughout the country. It's simple. There's little or none. The Liberals and the Conservatives have abandoned social and affordable housing. It wasn't profitable for their speculator friends, it seems, but people need a roof over their heads. What are those two old parties good for if they can't even guarantee a basic need, housing? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for his question. I'd like to remind him that there's a measure in the most recent budget, and it was highlighted by different stakeholders. We've put $1.5 billion to take housing off the market, to ensure and reserve affordable housing off the market for people who need them. That's what we've done, and we'll work with all nonprofits, with municipalities, to increase the number of affordable and social housing units. Thank you.
Member for Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Tenants at Thorncliffe Park and across the country are rising up against corporate greed that is causing skyrocketing rents and resulting in evictions and rising homelessness. Renters cannot keep up with the costs of these unfair corporate practices, and the Liberals themselves are partners in making these rental units unaffordable. This is a violation of the human right to housing. Why is the Liberal government partnering in these exploitative practices and causing harm to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. President, I want to thank my colleague for her question, and I want to say to her and to all Canadians that are watching that this government was the first government that made historic investment in housing. But not only that, we recognize the human right of a house. And we have, for the first time, named a commissioner to defend the right of tenants. And we'll continue to work with all provinces and municipalities to defend those rights.
Why does it sound like she's talking in cursive? That, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to end this video. I would love to know down in the comments what you guys think. And on your way out, I would like to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already, because I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.